Hi, Elayna. How are you?
Hi, it's Elayna.
Elayna. Okay,
How do
thank
I
you.
say your name?
Magnus.
Magnus. Is that correct?
That is correct. Elayna.
Awesome.
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. We are thank you for the opportunity to be on the show, honestly,
Oh,
for your
no,
time.
thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. You're doing some wonderful things, what you're doing out there, and it
Yeah,
will definitely tie into what this, what I'm trying to do with the show. So it's
thank you.
perfect.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. It's really an honor.
Oh,
And thank you for all of the promotion. It's just really incredible. I'm really grateful for everything.
You're very welcome. You can promote that as you see fit, post it
Yeah.
everywhere. Those links will be out there for like ever and ever until I keep doing
Yay.
this. So also I'll get you a copy of the links afterwards on the
Hmm.
YouTube channel so you can take that and promote that as you see fit as well
Yeah.
on your things. And what the show is going to be, it's about an hour as we discussed.
Hmm.
The sound engineer will be on in a couple minutes,
Yeah.
so we'll do a sound check. It'll be an hour. I'll introduce you, and I like to keep it very casual and very conversational.
Yes. Yes.
So I, I
Definitely.
found I find that as some of the best content comes from that.
Yes, I agree. I'm glad, sometimes people send me questions and, I'm fine with that too, but I really love to just see what comes up because I think that that's really what guides us into what people need.
Uh, I've been I've been hearing the same thing, and I also with the publishing and whatnot, I've been talking to my mastermind group
Hmm.
about ideas and shows and what they need as well because we're all business owners and we're starting the business and whatnot, and it's wonderful. I love talking with people about this, and every person has a very unique and different way to do things, and that's amazing.
Yes, yes, it's really awesome how it's what works for you, obviously.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually recording this now, so
Okay.
all this stuff will be on the YouTube channel later, but it won't be on the regular air thing. So
Yeah,
it's little extra tidbits here and there. I find it works quite well.
yeah.
Um, and after, if you have a couple minutes after the show, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. What we missed, what you'd like to talk about, uh, and whatever else, whatever else you want to talk about as well, off topic or something that maybe we can work on in the future. So
I love that. Yes, I love it.
wonderful. So you've been extremely busy lately. I've been seeing your
Yeah,
posts and whatnot, which is amazing. That's great. Uh, don't mind me. I'm just getting my screen set up here for the show. I
yeah,
don't have a script. I don't do. I used to have like a whole list of questions, but never got the questions answered. But actually got them answered in a different way. So it's not
yeah,
just one question, two question. Yeah,
yeah. Awesome.
that's blah. That's so. Yeah, that's so 1990s.
Great decade, though.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
Good
was. It was very.
decade.
I'm not gonna lie. It was a good decade.
Lots of boy band power. Just kidding.
Okay, you can have that one. But yes, there were lots of boy bands. Uh, Also a lot of great movies and great media and
Yeah,
everything that came out from
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Great music in general, movies, and a lot of movements that started in that decade.
So, were you in Team In Sync or Team Backstreet Boys, or were you like the occasional O Town person?
I was Westlife, actually.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Team Westlife.
I will definitely tag that
Absolutely.
later.
Yeah, know all the lyrics, many of the moves. Oh,
That's well, I didn't expect that one, but uh, it's up there. So,
yep.
okay, now a different one: Ricky Martin or Julio Iglesias.
Oh, Enrique Iglesias.
Enrique.
No,
Okay, not
no,
his
no,
dad.
but no, I would say not Julio because I'm definitely Julio because that was my dad's hero.
Yep.
But Ricky Martin all the way.
Okay.
Living la vida loca.
That was a very memorable song, and yeah, it still takes you back. That
Yeah,
song is actually a lot of his music's timeless. I'm not gonna lie. I did listen to it. I did enjoy it. I didn't go now it's out there that I actually listen to it. But that's it's okay, which
yeah,
is good. Let's see here. And let's see here. And I can't believe it's already the end of the year.
yeah,
It's flying. This last 7, 8 months. Nuts.
yeah. When you're a mom, it's crazy because it's actually insane how there are only 18 summers with your children and it feels so quick. Like I have a 20-year-old and a
No.
19-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So all girls, by the way.
Oh
And
my.
and it's like, oh my gosh, another birthday. Like they're growing so fast. This I think that time is very relative, like Einstein used to say. And for a mom, I think it just goes flying because we just see this little babies turning to, adults. Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
Oh, yeah, I see that with my nephews and a bunch of my other friends' children. Um, every time I see them, they're like another 3 inches or 4 inches, or they're talking. It's like I'm talking to them. I'm like, where did you learn this stuff, and why are we talking about this now?
Yeah.
It's
Well, I can
amazing.
relate to the inches part because I'm 4'8.5.
Oh,
But
okay.
with the
It's always the
ages,
small ones. You never mess with the small ones, the short ones.
yes, yes, but no, it's really incredible how aware our youth is. And I'm a really big fan of teens and young adults because I see the level of awareness and the insights and wisdom that they bring in this day and age. And I think back when I was their age and how far,
Yeah.
we were as a society from the level of thinking that our children are bringing today. It's just really hopeful, I think, for our planet to see that these people are growing up with this mindset.
Yeah, they're definitely this the last couple generations are way farther advanced than we were. It's kind of scary at the same time. But I do agree. They are very well attuned, but also dependent on tech. We can definitely get into that on the show
Yeah.
about it's the things that we can do. They're like, wait, hold on 1 second, let me get my phone. And then they're on their phone for like 10 minutes trying to figure it out. And it's like, oh, it's already done.
Mm,
But I'm sure you see that quite a bit as you grew, as your children were growing and still growing.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because, my oldest, she first got her phone when she was 17 and about to go to college.
Okay.
And then my second one, it was her 18th birthday present. So, and we don't do tablets and things like that, even though they've always had social media and YouTube
Oh.
channels, because the way that I've raised them is to be a creator and not a consumer.
Okay. Smart. Very smart. Very,
Thank you.
very smart there. And we can definitely get into that because this is definitely one of the areas where single moms can actually
Yeah,
benefit by
yeah,
doing that.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it's really interesting. Like if you see up there, I don't know if you can see.
Yep, I see
Uh-huh.
your book. Is that your
That's
book and your
their
daughter?
book.
Okay.
That's their book. They were
That's
9 and 10. Yeah. 9 and 10 when they became best-selling authors. and international speakers, and they have their own blog, they have their own business, they've, published more books, and really it's really different because you let them create, you let them take advantage of the tools that they are at their disposal,
Mhm.
and yet they're doing it in a way that helps them. That college application, for example, it was piece of cake for my oldest because it's like she's so accomplished. She's a heart-centered entrepreneur that wants to help people create movements. And the same with
Okay.
my second one, who is going into film school pretty soon. And it's like they're already making a difference
Wow.
and an impact in the world
Oh
for
my.
years. And so it really is the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. Well, that's quite an accomplishment. Now I don't know quite a few adults that haven't even got that much accomplished, and they're just starting.
Yeah.
Literally, they are just starting, and they're off with the great what a great start to
Yeah.
begin
And
with.
not only because of the accomplishment, but also because of the level of fulfillment that they have. Because I was a straight A student.
Okay.
I went to, public school, and actually it was, a very low income school in the Dominican Republic. And so I had a lot of achievement. I know what achievement looks like,
Mhm.
especially coming from, being raised in a slum and seeing what that did for me. And yet I didn't feel like I was fulfilled or happy or
Okay.
had any, or what I was doing really mattered. Like, having all these A scores and A grades and things like that, and being class president, that didn't really speak like I'm making a difference in the world.
Okay.
But when you know that what you're doing is what you're passionate about, even as a young child, and that you're making a difference for others, that you're furthering the good forces of humanity, then that it's a different level of achievement.
And I have a feeling we're gonna touch on quite a bit of that topic because single parents out there feel that way. I
Absolutely.
see it everywhere.
Yes.
When I was traveling, as I was traveling with my one job, I seen it everywhere in airports and restaurants,
Mm,
uh, parking, getting in and out of the cars and whatnot, and the grocery stores, restaurants, all over.
yeah.
And you're right. It's like they're lacking something. You can tell that they're lacking something, but they don't know what.
Yeah. Yeah. We're definitely going to talk about that because that's one of um my core pillars of my brand is being on purpose, to
Oh,
really fill yourself with purpose by doing something outside of mother.
I like
Hello,
that.
hello.
Oh, hey, Josh.
Hey, how are
Welcome.
you?
I'm doing excellent. How are you today, sir?
Hey, sorry about that. Say that one more time.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. Sorry, I just got loud in here real quick. All right, let's do a quick sound check with you guys. Magnus, I'm gonna have you count back from five for me. All right.
Sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right. Is it Alanya or Alaya? How do you say that? I'm not sure.
Elayna.
Elayna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry if I get that wrong. I apologize. If you go ahead and count back from five for me, please.
Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I like that name. That's a good. I had never heard that one before.
Oh, thank
I
you.
like that. All right. Just friendly reminder for everybody. If you got a cell phone nearby, make sure you have it set to silent or to airplane mode, as vibrate will get picked up by your microphone.
Mhm.
And just a friendly reminder as always, as well, if you're like me and talk with your hands, be mindful of that because if you hit the desk in front of you, it will get picked up by the microphone.
Will do.
Play mode it is.
Otherwise, we got about 2 more minutes.
Oh, excellent. Well, it's already that time. And this time we'll fly by Elayna. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have look at the last 10 minutes. Like felt like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
This 2 minutes is going to feel like an eternity, and then the next
always.
45 are going to feel like they went by in 2 minutes.
I like that perspective.
All right, so that's all set. Yeah, this month is I'm trying to get this month is jam packed with excellent talent. Just as yourself,
Oh,
the
wow.
the next 3 weeks is going to be crazy, and I'm especially happy that you're part of it, Elayna.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Just to make it feel longer, we have 1 more minute still.
Thank you, Josh.
Oh,
I'm here to
Josh.
please.
Where are you, Josh?
Arizona. We're in Phoenix.
Oh, all right. Oh, let me turn off my WhatsApp. It's a good cue then.
Oops. It makes for an interesting conversation when something happens like that. It's like, okay, was that something on their end or was that something from me?
It always makes you panic too. You go, wait, where did it come from?
Yeah. It's like, shut everything off. I swear.
Yeah.
All right, we got about 15 seconds. When you hear that music, we will be live.
Okay. And it is Fernandez, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I got that one right.
Welcome to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. Whether you feel that you don't have enough money to start investing or are under the preconceived notion that investing is only for the wealthy, Magnus and his expert guests are here to help you. Now here is your host, Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Making More Money for You show. I'm your host, Magnus Carter. We are on the Voice America platform at the moment, streaming live. I'd like to take a special thank you to Omni Casey from last week about how to some investing strategies that we can go over and that actually help make our portfolios a little bit better and better choices when trying to find a property to buy and rent out, especially for the commercial ones. So as we are coming into December, the last month of the year, Christmas is around the corner. Tax season is fastly approaching us. I have a very special guest that I'm very happy to get acquainted with right before the show. And I would like to welcome Elayna Fernandez, also known as the Positive Mom. Welcome to the show, Elayna.
Oh, thank you so much, Magnus. I'm so honored to be here with you.
As this action-packed last month of the year, I got some extremely exquisite talent, and you are definitely leading the pack with this for this month. And some of the things that you have accomplished in such a short amount of time, being an entrepreneur and business owner, I'd like for you, if you can, give us just a little bit of a rundown of what you do, where you're coming from, and what makes this whole show is all going to be about mothers and single parents and helping them realize some very important things that can actually happen in a positive way. So I'll let that up to you, Elayna.
Thank you. So, I help moms become digital entrepreneurs using the power of storytelling. And my mission is that they're able to break cycles, find peace, and feel whole. And let me explain that for you in a story, of course.
Of course.
It was 2004, and I found myself on the ground in the fetal position, just thinking that my life was over and that I wanted it to be over because I had just become a single mom of my then now, they were 1 and 2 at that time. Now they're 19 and 20. So, but I, as a new mom and also as a now single mom, I didn't know what to do. But most importantly, because we're talking about money, I had none of it. I didn't have $1 in my pocket. I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have anything under the mattress. I didn't have a piggy bank. Okay. I had zero. And I am an immigrant to the United States. So I didn't have a support system. I couldn't, call my mother or my father and say, I'm coming over. It was more of I have to get out of a whole country, but I can't because I'm waiting for, an immigration status, and my kids were born here. So it was a moment in which I found myself desperate, alone, hopeless. And then that resulted in us also, experiencing homelessness.
Right.
So it was really, really hard. And I know that many of our viewers and listeners maybe can't even imagine that, or maybe they can relate, but I'm going to point something out is that we all can relate to feeling desperate, to feeling alone, to feeling like we don't have the first step and we have no steps to move on. And the reason I'm telling this story is because in that moment, that was so pivotal for me to actually begin the seed of what it is now, the positive mom. When I was down on the ground, the force that helped me come off and look at my kids, laying on their beds peacefully and feeling that sense of gratitude, like, I have
Right.
not only what I need inside of me, but I have my reason.
Mhm.
And what happened was that I decided, because I had this inspiration, this rush of inspiration in this, it was like a tiny little speck of light in the darkness that I was in. And it was like, you know what? You can't write what to do, but you can't write what you will be. And so that was the first moment of my life where I wrote a to-be list. And that's the practice that I follow every single morning when I wake up. I write my to-be list because there are moments in which we are just in a moment of nothingness, nothing comes to us. We feel numb. We have nothing. It is real. And it is real for us. Our feelings are valid. However, when we focus on who we can be, then we are in a position of power. And when I say be positive and you'll be powerful, it's not like deny, downplay, or dismiss your pain. It's more like find that which you can be that will give you the next step. And that's how it was built. I started storytelling, and I decided to create a blog, and I decided to start my business. But all of that was after I decided what I was going to be. And the first thing was be positive. And so that's where the positive mom came about.
Well, that's some of the best things come out of um like music, companies, inventions come out of mistakes. You didn't mistakenly do this, you willingly did this, and then you set your mind to it. And uh quite a few episodes we've had here with various guests, they took the little steps that
Mhm.
made it. They didn't go 30 steps down the road. They didn't go 40 steps down the road. They see the 30 and 40 steps there. They don't know how to get to it. But
Yes.
like you're saying, is you took that one little step and then a step after that.
Absolutely, because it's too huge. In that moment of pain or desperation or darkness, you can't connect to that big vision. You really can't. You really can't see. If you would have told me on there, like, get up, you're gonna have over 160 countries that you're gonna reach, millions of moms worldwide. You're going to be an international speaker. You're gonna be on a TEDx stage several times. I would have been like, no. But if you can tell me you can shift just in a tiny bit, then I can do that. That's possible. And that's one of the things that I always tell in entrepreneurial panels and things like that. Sometimes the little things that you think are your weakness turn out to actually be your biggest strength. And that happened to me when I first started marketing my skills as a marketer, as a web designer, as a strategist. I actually didn't have money to buy a printer, and I wanted to send letters to people to offer my services. So you know what I did?
No, it's now.
I,
What kind of creative things have you done?
yeah, I wrote a handwritten letter.
Okay.
And I mailed it out. My little girls, they were 2 and 3 at that time. They were like licking the little, putting the little things, the stamps, and they were all crooked, you know. And I wrote handwritten letters and no labels, so the envelopes were also handwritten. And so, you know what? I had an 80% closing rate.
80% from handwritten letters.
Yeah, they said, we were like, what is this? I haven't gotten a handwritten letter in years. And I didn't have a computer, before that I didn't have a computer. So I went to the yellow pages. And
Wow.
I'll tell
Okay.
you something funny, because I didn't know how to drive and I had just learned. And because I'm so short, I used this yellow page book. One in my bottom and one in my back, and it's like, okay, I can drive now. And so those same yellow book pages, I actually used them and found out who doesn't have a website, who's not marketing their business online, because you would see if they listed a website or they didn't. And I definitely wrote them letters. And the interesting thing, Magnus, is that I would have called them, but I was so self-conscious of my accent.
Okay.
And I would have never imagined that I was going to be, interviewing with you. Thank you, by the way.
Most welcome.
Or speaking on stages, because I couldn't see myself there. So, that's another testament to that principle.
Mhm.
Do what you can do and what feels comfortable to you. Not in the comfort zone where you're like, oh, I can't do any of it, but
Right.
find something that pushes you just a little bit so that you can feel that it's possible and that it's doable.
Okay. Those are all doable actions. But I do have a question for you. When you changed your mindset that little bit to say I'm positive, how did the rest of your decisions play out in your mind? We all have that ongoing battle. This isn't going to work. That's not going to work. But how did that one little thing that you started being positive and the positive thinking, how did that change your path?
It changed tremendously, and I remember making the decision.
Mhm.
I'm going to make my kids my reason,
Okay.
not my excuse.
And did you find more power that you acknowledged where you were at instead of denying it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It also was, part of it was thinking back at other times where something seemed impossible and I achieved it. Because, one thing that came to my mind is, and it's another story, a big surprise, storytelling, Elayna. I was 7 years old and I am back, home with my brother. We lived in this little shack in the slum, and we were early in the morning, we'd go to fetch water to not so nearby river, but that's what we called it, nearby river, to our daily water for the day. And so that's what we did as kids. And after we went to the water, to the river, and we would go to our magical place, which was the landfill.
Ooh, okay. All right. I thought you were going to say McDonald's for a second, but I don't think McDonald's was there.
No. I have actually never eaten McDonald's food, but anyway, then in the landfill this particular day, I go through the trash and, we're trying to find our treasures. And then I find this magazine and it was beautiful. It was soggy and smelly, obviously. I mean, there's flies were everywhere, but I open it up and I see these kids and they have jeans, we called it prelavados, which were like kind of like had a, when you put like bleach.
Oh, the acid jeans or
Okay,
or the
okay.
bleach jeans.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Prelavados, exactly. So it's like, oh my gosh, prelavados and tennis shoes, and they have toys like that are brand new, and they're reading books, as a storyteller and story lover. I always wanted to have my own book. It was my dream.
Okay.
And so, and the most important part is that they had happy families. You could see their joy, that you could see that they were getting along and they didn't, the kids had time to play. And so I told my brother, in order to live this life, we need to learn this language because the magazine was in English.
Okay.
So for 4 years, I saved up and I did this storytelling cardboard puppet theater, which was my first business at 7 years old. Because we didn't have electricity at night. So it was the perfect captive audience. So I put together all these coins. And by the time I was 11, I could enroll myself in English class. I studied English for 3 years. And then I became one of the instructors at the same center where I studied it. So I'm telling you this story because when I was on the ground and thinking, I can't do this, I'm all alone, I don't know what to do, that picture came to my mind. And I said, you know what? I didn't have this life, but I am going to absolutely create this life for my kids. They're going to be my reason. They're not going to live in poverty. And that's why, I told you my mission is to break cycles, break the cycle of abuse, break the cycle of poverty, break the cycle of addiction, break the cycles that keep us enchained and live in freedom. And that is what drove me to take any little step after that, is to have that vision of my kids living this magazine dream life that wasn't possible for me. But now, knowing English in the United States, it all clicked. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this.
Okay. Well, that's a lot to take in. I'm not gonna, the story itself is heartwarming, that anything is possible, that we're, single moms now. I've seen it throughout my travels and through everyday life, is they lost their passion and their purpose in life. Well, their purpose right now is to take care of the child,
Yeah.
which is completely, I can understand that from a distance. I can't understand it, doing it, but I can see it from a distance and appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But what are some of the things that could help find a person's passion, or get that little spark started?
Well, I think you already mentioned it, Magnus, when you said, it's in your pain that you find it.
Okay.
It's gonna give us a clue. And one of my mentors, Michael Bernard Beckwith, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Reverend Beckwith says, either the pain pushes you or the vision pulls you. And it's both. So if you think back in a time of your life where, oh my goodness, I was struggling, that's going to give you a sign of what problem you want to solve for others and for yourself, but also what vision you have. And it's going to be the opposite for your future. And that's going to give you a passion to help others and to also do it for yourself.
Okay. All right. That's okay. I like that. I like that the vision can draw you or the pain's gonna push you through it. Because whatever we decide it is free will to choose, do I want to go towards it or do I want to go against it?
Mm-hmm.
So out of all of the toxin, all of the experiences that you have experienced, you know, your TED Talks, your international travels, what can you say that you've seen repetitively through your journey through helping moms?
I think it's insecurity and a low sense of deserving.
Okay.
I think it's, you know, I'm not sure that this is going to work for me, but also I'm not sure I deserve this. And many times the sense of deserving is the only thing that's blocking, but it's subconscious, and that's how we interpret it. Like, can I have the skills to be an entrepreneur? Can I actually raise my child in a positive way? So it comes in every aspect of our lives, and it is trauma as a trauma response.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about entrepreneurs and opening businesses and whatnot, but what does that mean in uh, a single mom's mindset to actually be an entrepreneur or actually to own a business? What are some of the thoughts that go through your head when you're even contemplating that?
I love that you asked that, because, you know, there are 5 pillars, you know, that encompass being a positive mom. And one of them is being present.
Okay.
And so as single moms, that's their biggest struggle, is to be present with our child, because we have so much that we're doing on our own. And, you know, many of us are what I call solo moms, and we're taking care of everything. So I have 4 children and everything is on my shoulders, right? And
Right.
so when you think about that, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't be present with my child, playing with them, listening to them, going to their activities. And that brings so much guilt and shame. But also, you know, you're thinking, how can I do it all? And the thing is, when you're going, working either inside of the home or outside of the home for a specific schedule, or, you know, you're trading your time for money, you don't have the freedom to be present. So that's
Right.
why entrepreneurship is a good solution to become a present mom, because then you make your own hours and your own schedule. Are you going to work a lot? Trust me, I work hard. It's not, you know, it's not this rainbows and butterflies that sometimes I hear painted about the entrepreneur life. It comes up with a lot of work and a lot, but it gives you the freedom to show up when you want to show up.
I agree with that. Doing I'm still doing the 9 to 5 till the business starts taking off. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that you have to keep in mind is don't leave a paycheck until your business can support you. I think it was 3 or 4 months at a time. Is that 4 months? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
know
And
that.
no, I was going to say that takes me to another principle, which is that is on top of your emergency fund.
Right. Oh
That's
yeah, you
not
gotta have that.
that's not your emergency fund. You have an emergency fund that's at least 4 months, but you also have your extra, all of your expenses for at least 4 months.
Okay, so it's 4 and 4. Okay, because I know before everything that happened, before the shutdown and whatnot, it used to be 3 months, 2 to 3 months, and now it's actually 4 because, of course, inflation and you know
Yeah.
the well, what's the word? Unsteadiness of
Yeah.
life nowadays.
Yeah.
So everything's so changing. Now that brings up a great point. Now that everything's so up in the air and nothing is certain anymore because of what we've been through and what we're going through. But one quick note is now a good time to actually start a business?
Yes. It is always a good time to start a business because you know what? Like you said, a lot of the time, and this happened with me, you're going to work 40 hours a week or sometimes more to sponsor your initiative. That's what I
Okay.
call it.
Oh,
Because while
like
you're
that.
working with this, you're investing in your business cards and you're investing in your website and you're investing on your email marketing CRM. You're doing all of these things with your paycheck, which
Mhm.
is really awesome. You're sponsoring your entrepreneurial endeavor with your job. And what I'm trying to say is that's going to give you fuel even
Okay.
though it's not money coming in yet, and
Mhm.
actually you're spending some money to get things started, it's an investment. And it's an
Mhm.
investment because it gives you fuel, it keeps you passionate. And I'm sure you felt that, like, I have this drive and I have something that's really giving me energy. And
Mhm.
that's how you know your passion, going back to what we discussed earlier, is something that you do that when you've done it, you come out of it more energized
Oh,
than you were before, than you were going in. Versus there are some things that are like soul sucking. Like I do it and then I'm exhausted and I'm burnt out. But like here talking to you, it's so fun. you know,
thank
it's
you.
it's yeah, it's
It
it's
is.
part of that what gives me life and what gives me
Mhm.
joy. So if you start a business that gives you life, that gives you joy, that gives you purpose, it's always a good time to start it.
Okay. That's great news because I felt the same way when I got my first book done. It's like, okay, it's out there. It's like, okay, got the first sale, got the first 10 sales, and then I took it to another level. I'm like, okay, I'm getting a couple sales here, and now it's like, okay, I put it into a couple competitions for awards and whatnot,
Yes,
award things. I'm like,
yes,
okay, four of them didn't go well because I got like fifth and sixth out of the top 10. I was still in the top 10. I'm for a brand new author. So I'm like, all right. So I tried one more time. I put the book in, my first mutual fund book. And on top of that, it's like, all right, month went by, 2 months went by. It's like, okay, now the judging started. I'm like, okay, judging got um, postponed a little bit and the results came in. I'm like, you know what? 5 books, 5 other contests and stuff. I'm like, I really don't care. I'm like, it's in there. It's like I was about ready. I deleted the email with the results. I'm like, you know what? I'm curious. Two days later, I left it in my mailbox and I went back to it. I'm like, all right, I'm looking down. I'm looking down. I'm looking down. Here to find out in the personal finance and investing category. I'm like, okay, silver. I'm like, I see my name. I'm like, I see the book. The book's there. I'm like, okay, so the book's there. I didn't look to the left yet. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I before I looked at what it did is I looked up the other books and the authors. I'm like, I'm
mm,
curious. I'm like, whoa, who's in this with me?
yeah,
Here, there's 35-year professional investor
wow.
and a 35-year personal investor, Wall Street people. My book won the category with
Ooh,
gold, and the 35,
congratulations.
thank you much. The silver went to the 35 year and then the 25 year, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do this. And you're right, I got more and I put the next book out and I got the next book
Yeah,
and it's keep going. And eventually it came to the show.
yeah,
Honestly, when the talent scout called me up, I thought I was going to be on a show.
wow.
Here it turned out that they turned around and offered the show to me. And this is where
Mhm.
I've been since. And talking with expert people like you, and other phenomenal people, in all different forms of and walks of life. And that's the main goal of the show is making more money for you in overlooked aspects. And what we're talking about for single moms is no feat in itself. But Elayna, we got to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to dive more deeper into the other 3 pillars
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what you're doing with your children, how your children are doing now. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to call. The phone number will be on the commercial as we come back in, and I'll bring it back to you. But stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
You are clear.
Thanks, Josh.
Sorry about that earlier. I was looking at the wrong clock. We've got so many stinking shows and so many different clocks. I get gets me sometimes. I apologize for that.
No, I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, then I looked at the clocks and I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. We're okay.
That's my bad, man. My bad.
No worries. So, Elayna, what would you like to get into in the second half? We covered a whole bunch of stuff. We got your story. We did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think ways to monetize their
Okay.
story and tell their story and things like that. I want to, make sure that they know more about making money and becoming an entrepreneur.
Okay. We'll definitely hit
Yeah.
that.
What do you think?
I like it. I like that. We got the basis down. We got your backstory, that you're professional. You're coming with, you've been through this. So we got you. You're an authority figure right now. Not to say that some of your accolades that you do have is no easy task that you've done, but yeah, we'll definitely hit that stuff up.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Fantastic.
And
Wow. What's that?
talking about the community, because I do have a free community for moms where I
Yes.
teach them a lot of stuff. So I think it would be a good resource for them.
Absolutely. We can definitely I have that here. I'll put that in the description. I'll update the show description. I'll send it out. And definitely at the end of the show, we can plug everything that you have offer, your free stuff, your books, your
We are
other
coming back.
communities. And we're already back. See, so fast.
You're listening to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. If you have any questions for Magnus or his guests, join us on the show at 866-472-5789. That's 866-472-5789. Now back to the show. Here is Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Or if you're just tuning in, welcome to the show. I have a very special guest. We're talking about single moms becoming entrepreneurs and business owners. I know a lot of people say they can't do it, and there's like 5 million other reasons why. But I have my special guest here, Elayna Fernande, says it can happen, and it can be very profitable, and it can be successful. Welcome back to the show, Elayna.
Thank you. Thank you, Magnus. I'm really just so happy to be here.
And as am I, and as my listeners will be as well, because we're talking lots of golden nuggets here, especially before the show. That'll be on the YouTube portion of it, the YouTube video of the show, but we will get as much as that into this content as possible. But we got the mindset right. We got that we have the choice to either be successful, go towards the vision, or go away from the vision. Now let's see. But here's one thing that we need to keep making this dream happen is we need money.
Yeah.
We need money. We can't do this with hopes and dreams now. Hopes and dreams help, but we need a little bit of the green stuff to help us out. So what are a couple things that you've done? I know you did a very entertaining sock puppet show or a puppet show at night when you were 7 to get started, which is why not? Kids do lemonade stands. Why can't you do a puppet show? So what are some things that moms can do to start monetizing the way they do their life and help themselves, help their community, and also be present with their child?
Thank you for saying that, because there are things that we say to ourselves, like, I don't have skills, or I'm not good at this, or I'm not a business person. So there are many beliefs that we have that prevent us from seeing ourselves doing something like becoming a mompreneur or a mom entrepreneur. And one of the things that I have noticed is that my success has always been tied to telling a story. Even when I was doing the cardboard puppets, it was using the power of storytelling. Now, people may think like, oh, what is that? Because I'm not an English major. Well, guess what? English not even my first language. And I have an award-winning blog, and that's my second language. So anyone can do it. Let's just start there. But a story is just something that happened. It's not a complicated thing. There's no art, there's no science. There are better ways to tell a story than others, more engaging, more memorable, more impactful. And that's why I help moms refine that story. But if you can start wherever you are, I started my blog in 2004, and I look at those blog posts and I want to cringe. And yet, those cringy blog posts were the ones that got me here. Starting where you are, doing what you can, and coming from the heart. So there are many things that you could do to tell your story. You could, start with a blog. You could use social media to use stories and become a paid influencer. You could write ebooks and sell them online, which is really simple. You don't even have to publish them on Amazon, but even that is very easy to do. You could freelance write if you're, a strong writer. You could do affiliate marketing where you don't even have to have a product. You just could, tell other people about somebody else's product or service or company. You could do stock photography if you like to take photos and upload them to a stock photo site, and they are going to pay you a fee and a percentage. You could do YouTube videos after 1 million, after 1,000, not even 1 million, 1,000 subscribers, then you start making money off of any video that you publish. And you could start a podcast and then find sponsors for your blog, for your podcast, and start monetizing just simple stories. And even in the podcast, you don't have to tell the story yourself. You could interview other people. You could write a book by interviewing other people. There are so many ways in which you can become a digital entrepreneur. And I'm saying all of these things because it doesn't require you to leave your home. If you have a small room and you have a computer and you have internet connection, and most of us have that, then you can start all of these businesses. Now, for other women who are more crafty or more hands-on, they can have an Etsy shop. They could become a virtual assistant and help other people with their business. They can, if you're really good with skills and have a background in whatever industry that you do and not coming straight from stay at home and have a background in any industry, you can actually become an advisor or a consultant or coach for that industry. For example, if you were a dental assistant, then you can train other dental assistants from home and give them coaching and tell them your experience and how to be more efficient. And same if you were in any other industry, even if you are an educator. So it doesn't really matter what your background, you can coach other people. And I always say to a second grader, a third grader is an expert. So you don't have to be like a college student to train. You just have to be a few steps and have done what you're teaching. If you have been through the second grade, then you know all of the secrets of the second grade. And the first grader is going to be really grateful that they know now the insider's information. So those are some ideas that we can get started. But basically, the thing is that the only thing that's stopping you is your trauma response, which we call mindset. And it's that voice that tells you that you're not good enough to do something, or that it's not possible for you, or that you're not going to figure it out, or the voice that tells you, the voice of fear that tells you, what if I fail? And guess what? All of those things are possibilities.
Right.
But there's another possibility, like at least 50% of possibility that you might fail, you might not fail, that you might figure it out, that you might create a wealthy, abundant, fulfilling life for yourself and for your family. So why not focus on that 50%? I'm not saying that it's not real. I have launched courses that have failed, but I have launched courses that have not only sold and made revenue for me, but have changed the lives of so many families. And so that is worth everything. And I was, back to when you were talking about your book, and you said, you're tracking the sales and you're tracking the awards. Let's go one step further and track the impact.
And I have done that.
Yes.
When I have started, I go back and look at the reviews.
Yes.
Because I want to make sure that it's like that the content's right, that I didn't miss anything or I misspoke something. I'm like, then I would take the book down and redo it and then put it back.
I love it.
Fix that. But all of the books, I started with a very narrow mindset, which was what I was taught to do is get an age group like 30 to 35, 20 to 25, and focus on that group and make sure you solve their problem for that. But what I found out was, as I did that, great responses. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. Got it. I decided to do against what my coaches told me to do. They told
Yes.
me to keep focusing on that. Instead of keep focusing on it, I expanded it.
Yeah.
I went down to the college kids. I went down to the 18 to 21-year-olds, the 21 to 30-year-olds. I went all the way down to 18-year-old kids that are just graduating high school, and then went all the way the other end of the spectrum, all the way to 65 plus retirement. And it worked throughout every single age group.
I love that, because you know what? You're going to hear all kinds of advice from all kinds of people. And many of them are well-meaning. Many of them have a lot of credentials and a lot of expertise. And yet you got to listen to your heart. You got to listen to the service that you're here to be put on earth to do. And when you do that, and this is how it applies to single moms, when you do that, your kids are inspired.
Right.
So you're not only doing it for yourself. It's like, I didn't have to tell my kids, you should do this. They saw me doing it. And I remember, I was speaking in Houston this weekend, and my daughter was on stage. Okay. And they asked her, like, what happened? Why did you decide to become an author? We'll talk about that in a second. And she said, you know what? Like, I didn't know that this wasn't what people did. I saw my mom be an author, and I immediately just wanted to be an author like my mom. It was possible. When you see it, you can be it. And so now I see my daughters 20, 19, 9, 3. My oldest are on top of the world because they have meaning in their lives. They have purpose and they have achievement. So they are growing. Why? Because I gave myself permission to do that for myself. I didn't have to teach it. It's not taught, it's caught.
Oh, that's a different take on things. That I'm trying to gather my thoughts. That one caught me off guard a little bit, which is really, really amazing, is because I was actually going to ask you about your children, because we were talking way earlier about this, was that they started all this on their own. They seen the benefits of actually starting something and actually being able to, one, help people, two, they found their purpose and passion in life, and now what we're talking about right now is they're monetizing it.
Yeah.
So it's those building blocks that you can take this and do this with pretty much anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it, like I said before, it's gonna come up for you that in the beginning you're less present because you're building the business and doing the job and doing all these things, but it's gonna pay off if you really stick to it and you're consistent. I remember I put in 10 minutes a day at least, and $10 per month. That was my budget.
Wow.
I had 2 toddlers and I was starting all over, living in a roach infested apartment and making $8 per hour. But you know what? I was consistent and persistent and kept that vision on my mind. And I started, and write this down if you're listening. I started creating boundaries, setting boundaries for my schedule, and setting boundaries for people to not discourage me, the naysayers, and the people that wanted, to drop off their kids at my house because I was home. Even though I was working.
Right.
And I started, number 2, owning my worth and saying, you know what, if I am working on this for an hour, that is an hour that I'm away from my kids. So I need to charge for it. I can't do it for free anymore. I actually put a TikTok earlier this week, the secret to make money doing what you love. You know what the secret is?
What's that?
Stop doing it for free.
Great advice. Great advice.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, when you do that, your kids are going to know their worth. Your kids are going to learn boundaries. And the third thing that you fight is the imposter syndrome, which is what we've been talking about. Like, I'm not good enough. Maybe it won't work for me. Maybe I don't have what it takes. That's going to keep coming up. But as they see a confident mom, they're going to be confident. And that was the best gift that I've given to my children. And I'm not saying that to say that to you, Magnus. My daughters have told me that. They said, you know what? We saw you take risks. We saw you stand your ground. We saw you be confident, even though it didn't look like you were confident. But you took the confident step that you could take. And now they can articulate it. That is what gave them the courage to continue to do this, because as they were 6 and 7 and saying, I want to be an author like my mom, I want to be a speaker like my mom, it was cute for them, like they're children. So they know they don't have all these thoughts and murk in their minds. But as they start to grow as teens, all of that starts to come up, and society starts to give them messages, and media starts to give them messages, and people everywhere starts to give them messages that they cannot internalize when you have set a foundation as a mom, that they are more than that. And so when you claim your spot, they know that they can do it scared, afraid, in spite of what's out there. So that's a really big gift. It's not only like something that you're doing for money, you're doing it for meaning.
And you brought up an excellent point that we talked about, is you taught your children to be creators and not consumers of the media.
Yep. Yeah.
So now, when you were up and coming as an author, how did society and the creation and consumer process change for you? Because we have some moms come in all ages and all experiences and whatnot.
Yeah.
But can you go through a little bit of how it changed and how you had to change to keep being successful?
Well, it's interesting because I have always read a lot of books. I walked many kilometers, I called them back then, to the library to read books. And then when I started affording books, I bought a lot of them. And but I've also always been a writer. I've also been a creator. And for some people, there's something that you've always been, but you're always being a creator, whether it's recipes that you're creating for people, whether it's, haircuts, whether it's advice that you give on how to decorate something. There's always a creator essence about you, and you just haven't identified that that's a gift that you have, because it comes so natural to you that you do it and you don't really notice it. And so yes, that's a different shift. So what we need to do is, if I love watching, the wedding channel, there's something there, because that consumption that I have, it's giving me a clue of something that I want to create. And it could be the event of the wedding, it could be the wedding dress and sewing, it could be giving, style advice, or or couples advice. I don't know, but what you consume, what you're attracted to consume, gives you a clue to what you are naturally meant to create. So that's where that shift you start. Look at what you're looking at, and that definitely is going to give you something to start with. But yeah, the shift has to be made. You have to go from consuming this much and creating this much to kind of even it out until you can be mostly a creator. Now, as a creator, you're going to be also informed by the consumption. If I want to be a star blogger, I gotta know what's out there. I gotta read other blogs that inform me. I have to know the experience of a blogger through observing other blogs. But it's different for me to do 10% of reading other blogs and 90% of creating my own versus 90% of reading and maybe 10% if I think I'm good enough one day. So that's what I've taught my children. And they started really little. Obviously, I didn't explain it that way. I was just saying, you know what? Your voice can be heard. You can make a difference. My second is passionate about being vegan. You can help others become vegan and give them tips about being vegan. My oldest, she was bullied in school, which is why we started homeschooling. And I said, you know what? You can help other kids with their self-esteem with your bullying experience and what that taught you. So, now my second one, she's in film school or about to get in film school, and she wants to teach other young creatives to monetize their love of film. So, no matter what that is for you, you can be a voice and see what bothers you, what makes you angry, what you love about the things around you, and start talking about it, start putting in a little bit more than what you're consuming, because chances are that you've been consuming that your whole life and consuming a lot of it, and that you have been creating even a little bit, and just nurture that a little more.
Oh my, okay. That's a lot of great insight there. Now, you did say you did read a lot of books.
Yeah.
And out of all the books you've read, what had the most impact in your life?
Oof, that's so hard.
I don't ask, I do ask easy questions, but
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay, so I'm gonna say if it's my whole life, I read James Allen's As a Man Thinketh at a library when I was 11 years old. And I have been reading it every year, even sometimes like even 10 times per year. So it's a short book, but it's about the power of your mind and how it's like a garden, how what you plant grows. Totally recommend it.
Okay. Well, I hate to say this, Elayna, but we're at the end of the show. Can you believe that we were talking? Actually, me and you have been talking for over an hour now, and it feels just like we just got started.
I know. I'm like gaining momentum.
But for this episode, we're gonna have to wind it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, can you tell the listeners out there worldwide, that's going to be on worldwide and on the podcast later on, where they can actually contact you if they want to find and your resources? Where can we learn more?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for that opportunity. And it's definitely flown by because I've enjoyed it so much. And I'm at The Positive Mom on all of the social media platforms you can imagine. And thepositivemom.com is my blog, but it's also where you can access my free community for moms. And it's where we strive to create a safe space for women and moms to feel welcome and worthy and whole, and where they learn to become positive moms, but also wealthy mompreneurs who break cycles and who find peace through motherhood and mompreneurship.
Awesome. That is wonderful out there. And I have to thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Honestly, I've actually got a lot of things out of this myself, and I'm sure you're gonna touch a lot of lives with this episode. So that concludes this episode. But next week, I didn't plan this at all because I totally booked these weeks and different weeks ahead of time and not ahead of time. I just plug things in. But next week I have Jesse Clark on from Beautiful Badass Life, which is actually going to take women and how to actually get them out of the mindset that we're talking about today, and for them to actually start taking action and become badasses in life, in their personal life, in their business life, uh and how to grow. So I couldn't have timed this any better. Uh, but that is next week's show. I do want to say is, anybody out there, take the moment, thank your mother for everything that they do, and help you with as well. But honestly, anything is possible out there. Try to make one thing happen. One thing leads into two. So that's going to be our show for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great week.
Thank you.
You are clear.
Thank you much, Josh.
All right. You guys have a wonderful week. We will talk to you next time.
You
Awesome.
too.
Bye-bye.
Josh. Bye.
So, Elayna, what'd you think of the show?
Oh, I loved it. What about you?
Oh, I loved it. It was wonderful. And I felt everything flowed well. The storytelling, love it. All the extra content that will be in the YouTube version of this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for reaching out, and yeah, I can't wait to see what you do next, honestly.
Oh, thank you. Well, you have my support for whatever you do next too. So let me know how I can support you. And thank you for the opportunity. I also thought that the conversation was really strong, and I hope that it's gonna help a lot of people. I think it will if they listen, right?
Yes, if they listen and they make that decision to do it,
Absolutely.
honestly. Now,
Yeah.
is there anything that when we were talking that we missed that you would like to bring up now?
I think, you know, the most important thing is to, while you're in pain, validate those feelings. I think that there's a lot of what I call out there motivational shame. And it's like when you get those messages like, oh, you have the same hours in the day as Beyonce, for example.
Mhm. Right.
And not taking that out of context, because Beyonce has a lot of support,
Right.
a lot of resources, a lot of, clout. So to know that where you're at is okay, and to be gentle with yourself. That's what I like to tell people, because you know what? When it's not the same way, you can do where you have been taken so many steps in strengthening a muscle. When you're like a little baby in your business, it's the same as the little babies in our lives. They take little careful steps.
Right.
They're taking the steps, but they're careful, and they're celebrating every step and
Okay.
laughing at themselves when they fall down. Right?
You're
So,
right.
so that's, one of the things, like no judgment. Like, when I hear that just do it, sometimes that works depending on the place that you're in, but sometimes it's like just rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sound advice right there. We don't hear that a lot because of how society wants us to keep moving and moving
Yeah.
and moving. We don't have that time, and then we find ourselves burning out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you know what? It's like, what is it for? And you don't have your health, and when you don't have your energy or your strength and your stamina, how present are you really going to be? How much are you going to enjoy the things that even if you got to create them? So it's really having a big picture of, sometimes it's okay to sit it out and take a deep breath and take a, how do you say that in sports? Bench, Like sit on the bench.
Oh, sit on the bench for a while. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Become okay. Be
I'm
a bench
I'm
warmer.
watching a lot of romantic movies that have those plots.
Okay. There's lots to choose from.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought that that was one thing that I wanted to say. Yeah.
Well, you got it out, and it will be out there as well. I'll
Thank
make
you.
sure I put in the description for the video is content, extra content besides the show. So,
Oh, yay. Thank you. Oh,
oh,
you're so amazing.
oh, I thank you. I have great people that work behind it, as you've seen the uh, uh, the sound engineers. The whole platform's behind everything. So, and I'm starting to surround myself more with what you're saying is more positive people and where I want to be, or actually where I'm going to go past.
Yeah, I love that. You're amazing. Thank
Oh,
you for allowing me to be part of the show.
absolutely. And I would love maybe in a couple months or so to have you come back on.
I would love it. I'm in. Sign me up.
Okay. Actually, well, we'll talk about it, but I'd like to do a mom special for the week of Mother's Day or something, if you're
Yes.
available.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. Me too. Yay.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording here and